You are good to go.
Awesome. All right. Well, today the plan is we're going to go through how you guys need to be using the appointment calendar. So booking your appointments, rescheduling appointments, putting notes on appointments, all that good stuff. And then we will also go through how you guys will be booking boarding reservations as well. So we'll start with the appointment calendar since we're already in here. I'm going to close out for just a second so you can see how to access it from the main screen. But once you're on that main screen of AVImark, oh, I don't know if I have mouse control again. You might have to switch that back.
There you go.
There we go. All right, that's much better. Okay, let me close the appointment calendar. And from the main screen of AVImark, when you need to access your appointment calendar, you're going to click on the little calendar button up here at the top. Or you can always go up here to the top as well and go to work with and go to appointments here. I personally think it's quicker just to click on the little calendar button here. But anytime that you open up the appointment calendar, it's going to assume that you're wanting to book an appointment for whoever you had open on your screen, which should be your typical process. You've got the customer, they've called, you've pulled their account, you're looking at their file, they want to book an appointment, so you pop open the appointment calendar. So you'll see over here in the very top upper corner, it'll let you know who that customer and patient was so that you can see that directly from here. Now, however, if you get to this point and you're like, oh shoot, that's not who I need to book an appointment for, or in the meantime somebody else has called and you've picked up that line and you're trying to book their appointment, this is actually a button. So if you click on it, it opens up your selection window from here so that you can pull another customer's file and book their appointment. So it just saves you the step of having to close the calendar, find the customer, back open the calendar, and then book their appointment. But like I said, I think typically workflow process, you're gonna be from the main screen, you're gonna pull their file, you're gonna open the calendar, and you're gonna be right there anyways. Now, what you're looking at when you're looking at the calendar, you're going to see all of your times over here on the left-hand side. So from the time you open till you close. You'll see doctors will have each column going across the top. And then you'll have a tab across the bottom so that you can go through the different days of the week. And then at the very bottom right-hand corner, you'll have a week and a month scroll bar, so that you can go through different weeks, different months. My favorite way to kind of maneuver around the calendar, again, this is just personal preference. Now, obviously, it's the last of November, but let's say it's tomorrow. So I'm going to flip over to December. So now we're looking at December calendar. Over here to the side, you'll have the entire month view. So if I know I need to book an appointment on December 17th, instead of scrolling through the weeks, the months, the days to try to find the 17th, I think it's easier just to come over here, click on the 17th, and now you can see you're on that day in the calendar. So a couple different ways you guys can maneuver around there. You can use the little scroll bars. You can click on the tabs of the day. But honestly, I think it's even easier. You've got your full month over here to the side. If it's within that month, just click on the day. Takes you straight there to that date in the calendar, and then you're all set. All right, so we've got Andy's account open, and we're going to book an appointment. We'll say for December 7th at noon for Dr. Walker. So I'm going to go over here and click on the 7th. So I'm on the 7th in the calendar. And all you're doing is lining up the date, the time, and the doctor. Okay, so you just want to make sure that all your columns match. We're already on the 7th. I'm just going to go to Dr. Walker's column, and I'm going to find that 12 o'clock time slot. So like I said, you're just matching and lining it up. Once you're highlighted in that time slot, and by highlight, I just mean how you've got that kind of box around it here. That lets you know where you're physically clicked at in the calendar. But once you're highlighted in that time slot, you're going to do a right click. And your very top option here should be new. And that should open up a new appointment window. Now from here, all this top information should be right because we were on the 7th in the calendar, we were on the noon time slot, and we were in Dr. Walker's column. However, if you get to this point and you figure out that you were in the wrong spot, you can adjust all of those columns straight from here. So if you need to switch the doctor or the date or time, you can do it from here. Just make sure those time slots are available before you do it. Now, again, once you guys log into AVImark with passwords, which you will eventually, this here will oh, did you say something?
Yeah. If they're on the phone and they change their mind about which doctor they want, and you switch the doctor in this screen and you don't realize that that doctor is not available at that time, will it let you do it anyway?
It'll warn you whenever you go to click out. It's going to say, hey, there's already an appointment for this date, time, and doctor. You need to reschedule it.
Thank you.
Now, yeah, so it'll let you know once you're done that, hey, you know, this wasn't an appropriate time slot that you can use. It'll go ahead and put the appointment there, but then you're going to have to move it. Which I'll show you how you can move them here in just a second.
It'll alert you while you still have the client on the phone?
Yeah, once you go to click done right here, which you should still have the customer on the phone at that point, that's when it's going to pop up and say, hey, that's not an appropriate date or time.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, and like I said, once you guys start logging in with the password, which you will eventually, that'll put in your initials there automatically so that you'll know at any time if you need to go back and look and see who booked an appointment. You guys will know exactly who booked each appointment. Now, Andy, are you guys going to be using the room drop down at all?
No.
Okay, so you guys don't have to worry about that one. Now, the client, patient, breed, species, all that, you'll see it's grayed out, and that's because it's pulling it from the customer's file, and you cannot make any changes to that information from here. However, there's a couple extra things that we want to make sure that you guys are doing in your appointment. One of the most important, and Andy, you might have to pipe into and give your feedback on how you want them to do this, but you want to make sure that you're putting in any notes. Usually these are going to be the customer communication notes of what, why the patient's coming in for the visit. But Andy, do you have any recommendations for them of exactly what you're wanting them to place in the notes window?
That would actually be a question for Megan.
I think we will just stick with how we're doing it now. Same info goes in there.
Right. Now, we don't need to... Pardon me?
Does whatever you put in the notes, does it save to the medical record?
We can have it. That'll be up to you guys. If you want the appointment notes to copy to the medical record, you will eventually be using the SOAP, which is the medical condition record, and we can definitely have those copy over to the SOAP as well, too. I think that would be appropriate.
So
yeah, it works out really well.
My only question here is, once we turn on security, it will automatically show us who made the appointment, right?
Yeah, yep. Once security's on and everybody's logging in with passwords, it'll put in there who made the appointment.
Well, it'll show when it was created. I'm not sure that we need anything. Because we have been putting the time and date stamp that we make the appointment, right, Megan, and our initials, or at least our initials.
We don't timestamp in the appointment notes right now. No.
Okay, but we don't have to do any of that. So any notes that you would put in, like you would normally, would go there. We also, you're going to talk about attaching services to the appointment?
Yes, yep, that's what I was going to show them next. That way we can talk about how that's going to work too. So once you guys get your notes in, the next thing that you want to do, if it's pertinent, you can come up here in this area, this extra little box in the upper right-hand corner. This spot here allows you to attach treatments or items that you know that the patient's coming in for. So if you know the patient's coming in for a rabies vaccine, we can go ahead and attach that vaccination to the appointment. That way it's already on there. We know exactly what they're coming in for, and we can have that service auto come over to either the SOAP or to the medical record, so it'll save you a step once they get there. But what you'll do to pre-attach any treatment or item is inside of this box here, you're going to do a right click, and you have the option for choose, which allows you to go into your treatment or inventory list. I'm just going to go to my treatment list, and I'm going to find, we're just going to do a rabies vaccine. We'll just do a puppy rabies vaccine. Okay, you're just going to click on the service that you want, done, and then that'll be attached there. Now, if the customer has a picture of their patient like this one, you won't be able to see what's attached to it because the picture overtakes it. If the patient doesn't have a picture, you're going to see in that box what's attached. But once you click done, you'll be able to see it, and I'll show you that in just a second. But one other thing I want to make sure that you guys are doing on your appointments, outside of adding any notes that you need, pre-attaching any treatments if you need to, but you also want to make sure that you're specifying a type of an appointment. Purpose of this is so that you guys can have your calendar color-coded according to the reason for the visit. So you'll use this type drop-down and specify the type of the appointment, and each type should have its own color system so that you guys can glance at your calendar and easily see, how many exam appointments you have coming in versus dentistry or surgeries, etc. It'll be really easy to see those from the calendar.
Does that also allot the correct amount of time depending on what the appointment is?
The type does not. However, what will happen is if you have specific services that take a certain amount of time, those services can be preset so that they expand the appointment time. So for example, you guys have 10-minute intervals on your appointments. If you pre-attach a spay to this treatment by coming up here and doing the right-click choose and going and selecting, the ovariohysterectomy service, we can have those services set so that they automatically expand out the appointment time. So if you pre-attach a service that's got an expanded appointment time, it would automatically update the interval of the appointment for you.
So for instance, for our exams with a problem, you would attach that exam with a problem code that we charge or that we put in the computer, right? We have an exam with a problem, right? And we will denote 30-minute visit for that versus a PC1 might be 20 minutes.
So would you be wanting us to utilize assigning treatments? So as it stands right now, we fill everything in the notes, and then it's handed over to the technicians and the doctors to assign the treatments to review and see what's needed?
You're going to assign the basic treatment. So we know if somebody's coming in for a PC1. We know if they're coming in for a sick pet. And those are the things that we will assign and put times for those. So like for the studies, we can put, a study, and that's automatically a drop-off. Can you attach like types of appointments to the treatments that you put in there?
You can't. The type part is completely just in this window alone.
Okay. So, we can denote, police study is 30 minutes or something like that. So it will automatically fill out the appropriate time, just like VTech does now.
Are the treatments linked to charges or
yes.
invoicing? So
yes.
If we assign them in here, they will
automatically go into the work list or the on the invoice.
So when you're back a few steps and you're deciding, like the owner's telling you that they want to see Dr. Hall on Thursday, how can the receptionist tell that Dr. Hall's actually in surgery?
Well, if you go to today, if you would, Sarah.
Yep. Let me go ahead and click done on this appointment. We're done at this point anyways. I do want to show you guys real quick, when you create that appointment, you'll be able to see from here the patient name, the species, customer name. What I typed in is my note, and I pre-attached that rabies vaccine, so you'll see that directly from the screen. All right, let me go to today's date real quick. Okay. There you go, and you can explain that to them, Andy, so they'll understand what you did that.
What we have to do is kind of it's blocking off. So we will be able to create block offs, and Beth and I have already talked about this yesterday, and that will be the responsibility of Megan, Beth, and myself to go in and set the schedule up. Like, for instance, I've done the doctor's schedule now all the way out to March 31st. And then Beth, Megan, and I will go in and we will put the appropriate doctors in the appropriate spots, make certain that Monday, Dr. Walker is not available until 2, those types of things.
So you've gone out on Saturdays, like which doctor is assigned?
Yes.
Okay. Will you give that to them?
It's available to them,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
So when you are blocking this,
Mm-hmm.
which it just changes to indicate what they're doing, can I now go in and schedule over that
Yes.
block? Okay.
So right click new. Here's Gemma.
Oh, I don't think you were on that time slot though, Andy. Let me steal your mouse for just a second.
Hold on. It's Dr.
Oh yeah, you can switch to the doctor.
Dr. And we can go. And it's going to say you're scheduling on a block off. Please change the appointment time or date. You could hit OK, and it goes in there anyways. Okay.
So they could actually schedule an appointment at 2.
They could. Can you make block offs? You can't make certain block offs that can't be overwritten, can you?
You can't. I mean, it's always going to give you that message saying, hey, this is on top of a block off. You need to make a change. But there's not a way to prevent them from doing it.
Okay. You can turn on.
How do other hospitals utilize, like labeling what a doctor is doing that day? Are they doing it the same way we are looking at doing it, or are there other ways?
No, that's really your only option. Since you can't go in and put in schedules for the doctor per se, you know what I mean? Your only option is to use the block off feature and go through and block off the amounts of time that doctors aren't there. So that's kind of our only workaround to make it happen. So the way you guys are doing this is really the only way we could get by with doing it.
Is there something that AVImark has in the works for an update on that?
I've heard them talk about some different updates for the appointment calendar because the block off thing seems to be a little bit cumbersome, especially when you've got 5 different doctors that work a different schedule every single week. It's not consistent. That's a lot of block offs that somebody has to go in and keep doing and changing from week to week. So yeah, it's definitely something that I know clinics have placed in as suggestions of improvements for the calendar. I do not know, time-wise, if they've got that on their plate to try and work on soon, or if it's just something that's, been suggested and sitting on the plate. So I don't know, but I do know that it has been suggested, and it's something that they do have as far as modifications that need to be made to the calendar.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, as far as booking a basic appointment, I'm sure you guys feel pretty good with that, right? Again, we're just locating date, time, doctor, right-click new, we're filling out any notes, we're attaching any services, and we're selecting our type. And again, just to recap what we were just talking about, what we faded into there, is any time that a doctor is going to be off work, or they're going to be a surgery doctor, or you guys are closed early one day, or it's Sunday if you guys don't work at all. Any time that there is a period of time that a doctor's not going to be in or the clinic's not going to be open, you're going to see things that look like this. These are going to be what's called block-offs that are alerting you that those periods of time are not available to book an appointment. Now, as you can see, some of these we're going to use for surgery so that you can know that you need to book an appointment there, but you will get that message each time that lets you know that you're booking it on a time slot that's already blocked off. So just pay attention to those. If it's like a surgery block off where you need to book an appointment on top of it, just go ahead and say yes, book the appointment. But for the other ones, you'll say no and you won't book the appointment. You'll find another time slot. All right, let's talk about how we'll handle if somebody calls in and needs to reschedule their appointment. So let me go back to the 7th. I think that's where we put that appointment. Yeah. So we've got the appointment over here on the 7th for Andy's patient. And let's say Andy calls in and says, hey, I'm not going to be able to make it. Is there any way that we could do it Thursday, the next day? So you guys glance over at your calendar, you let them know what appointments are available, and you say, absolutely, we can do it at 11 o'clock on Thursday. The best way to handle a reschedule is to find the initial appointment, do a right click on it, and you have an option in here for what's called reschedule appointment. When you click on that, you're going to get a little pop-up at the bottom that's just saying, hey, you're in reschedule mode, basically, for this customer. All it's wanting you to do is find the date and time that you're wanting to reschedule the appointment. So I'm going to click on Thursday. We're going to go to 11 o'clock, click in that time slot, and then do your right click. And you'll notice that the top option now states reschedule instead of new. So I'm going to click on reschedule. It'll pop back open the window, but everything from the initial appointment will already be on there. So the notes that you initially placed on there, any services that were attached, all of that will be there. But if you need to make any changes, you can. And I'm going to click done. So now it's successfully moved it over. Any questions with reschedules?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. Now let's talk about checking in a patient. If you guys are going to be, you're going to be going more into a quote unquote kind of Paperlite environment as far as we're going to be using medical condition records and proper notating and all of that once we get further to the end of your guys' training. But in order to make that whole process flow, we need to make sure that you guys are checking in your appointments. So once the customer actually arrives for their appointment, we want to make sure that we are checking them in so that we've got the proper tracking of it and we can do their SOAP notes and all that from their check-in. Now, all that you guys will have to do to check in the appointment is just to click on the appointment once they've arrived, and then you're going to right-click on it, and you've got an option at the very bottom for check-in. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. Now, it's going to ask you if you want to remove the appointment from the calendar. You're going to want to say yes, and I promise I'll explain why in just a second. But you want to say yes that you want to remove it. Otherwise, the appointment will stay on there and look just like this. So there's no way to look at your calendar and know who came in and who didn't for the day. So I'm going to go ahead and say yes. And then it's automatically opening up the whiteboard. That's something we'll talk about later on if that's something that's going to fit for you guys or not. So I'm going to go ahead and close it. And also, too, we can have it automatically open up your SOAP record, which is something we'll talk about later on, too. But at this point, we've checked the appointment in. They're officially checked in. And you guys have a feature, and this is something I can turn on and leave it on all the time. It's completely up to you.
Yes, sir.
But there's a feature called Ghost. Will you want that? Is that what you're saying, Andy?
Yes, we want that turned on.
Okay, good. Anytime that you check an appointment in and you say yes to remove the appointment, that automatically creates what's called a ghost. And you can see what it does is it grays out the appointment and marks it right next to it as a kept appointment. Like I said, that way you guys can glance through your day and be able to see who came in, who didn't, were they kept appointment, were they a no-show, were they canceled, etc. So you want to say yes to remove the appointment so that you will have the ability to have it ghost out for you. Now, I'm going to create another appointment real quick for this patient just so we can get an appointment in real quick. So now, if you have an appointment that doesn't show, okay, so if they're a no-show or let's say that they call and cancel, you don't want to check them in because then it marks it as a kept appointment, but you don't want to just leave it on there because then you don't have any way of tracking it and knowing what happened to it. So anytime that you've got a no-show or a cancel, you're going to right-click on the appointment, and you're going to go down to what's called remove. When you do that, you're going to get a little box with a couple options. The first one's going to be to completely delete it. Only reason that you would use that option is if you straight up need to completely delete, erase an appointment, don't need any record of it. That would be like if you guys made a mistake. You had the wrong client and patient open, you booked an appointment, and then you realize that it's wrong. You would want to right-click, remove, and completely delete it off. But your next two options are cancel and no-show. So if it is a no-show, I'm going to mark it as a no-show, click done, and then that creates that ghost and marks it as a no-show appointment for me.
And you need to know, Megan, that you can schedule on top of that.
Absolutely. Yep, it'll let you schedule right on top of those.
And would you do that? And it'll show you get like where it says surgery. I accidentally put 2 block-offs out there. You see the plus. That means that you've got stacked appointments. You've got two appointments in that slot.
But when would you ever do that? Because
You
if
really-
no show,
You really
that's in the moment.
Or if they call to cancel a
Right.
4 o'clock appointment and it's only 10 minutes,
yeah.
and I'm filling somebody else.
And what's the purpose of keeping it as a ghost? Are you going to be running numbers and seeing how many no shows we
You
have?
could
I
certainly-
give clients routinely no show. Then
But that's
start
why
paying.
you don't want to just delete the whole
I
No.
think it's good to keep having
Absolutely.
record of what happens.
Because then you can look at your appointment and say, we were booked solid, but I had 3 cancellations, 4 no-shows. What's going on? Did we call to confirm the appointments? Did we do what we're supposed to do?
Where's the indicator that it's stacked?
See the red plus?
The red.
Oh, okay.
And isn't it like you push the space bar,
Yep, your space bar will toggle between them.
so you highlight it, hit the space bar, and
So
it'll
when
go
you hit
back
the
and
space
forth.
bar, it'll tell you which one is the new and which one's the canceled.
Yeah, it'll have the
Okay.
status next
Yeah.
to it.
Oh,
So like,
oh, the C is.
C kept.
Oh.
C is for canine.
Why isn't the one that's not kept? Why isn't it posted?
It hasn't been checked.
No, I think it was
Oh, I
checked
see what
in.
you're saying.
Why does that one not appear to be a ghost?
Which one? Oh, I scheduled this one right here.
Uh-huh. The other one.
I scheduled one on top.
Why does that
That
one?
one there?
Yeah, okay. So when you go off of it, it shows.
Yeah, and you know what I would do? Because your standard appointments, like if I book an appointment over, on another doctor and another time, your standard appointments are showing in like a gray color like this one.
Uh-huh.
I say we change that so that you can tell the difference between a ghost and a regular appointment that's still coming in.
Right. And that's in the system tables. I think that's why I didn't go in and do it.
Yeah, I mean you'll have the types that you can do, but if you have an appointment with no type, like these, like I'm just doing a right-click new, and I'm not putting a type on it, it's just going in as a standard gray. That you would do in your advanced options of AVImark. You set just your
okay.
standard appointment color.
Okay.
So if I were you, I would set it to usually white is what most clinics do, that if it's a no type of an appointment, it's just a white appointment, and then they know that there's no type associated to it, and then they can easily tell it apart.
Okay, got it.
Tends to work pretty well.
Yep.
All right, so we've covered standard appointments. We know rescheduling, no-shows, cancels. We know how to check in.
Sarah?
Oh, I do want to show you something else. Yeah, go ahead.
They just asked about printing the appointment schedule. Typically, the technicians will print their doctor's appointment schedule in the morning so they have an idea of what's going on.
Okay. Yep, it's right up here at the top when you're in the calendar. You're going to go up here to print, and you have an option right here for print appointments. And once you're in here, all you'll have to do, I know it looks like there's a lot in here, but all that you guys will have to do is right here in this middle section, you're going to put in like what day you want to print it for.
And which doctor?
Yeah, you can do it per doctor or you can do it consolidated, which would be every doctor's appointment.
Can I ask though what the benefit of that would be? And I'll tell you why. Whenever I'm working with my technician, they'll say, "Well, what are we doing? There's a 2 o'clock here, and it wasn't there." But they printed that in the morning, they've been looking at it, and it has changed throughout the day.
I think it's a good idea to have a printed copy in case power goes out or anything like that. However, everyone does need to get
You
living,
go look at the
working
screen.
and
Yes,
the living
It
yeah,
changes.
definitely. Yeah.
Most of us know we're in the habit to like
Just check
Yeah.
the appointment.
see what's been added in.
Because sometimes I'll reprint if it's changed and it's already after like 2 o'clock.
Well, so I'm just saying, but why reprint? Like, why not just look at that? Like, why not print the schedules in the
Because
morning and just keep
sometimes
them?
the computers are busy and it's just nice to have.
But it might not be right.
You're right. You're right.
This morning I just
But at the same time, it's not like
TWs was empty,
if
and
the
I'm not gonna
printed
handwrite
schedule is not
everything.
right, the chart in the
Print
door
one,
is still going to be the correct chart that
But I guess I'm asking, why would you even have to print it? Like, why not just look at it? If we make like markers available, you just, it's like a learning thing to you? Hey, I understand, man. I have to read it or I don't retain it.
Okay, Sarah, go ahead.
Okay. Trying to think of anything else big I wanted to go over with the appointment calendar. I know I'm going to try and fit in a little bit of boarding before we have to head off. Just a couple little things I want to show you real quick. Let's say that you're far off in the calendar. Let's say somebody's booking an appointment for like February. Okay, so you're way over here and you need to get back to today's date in the calendar. This little sunshine button up here at the very top, if you click on that, it'll always take you back to today's date. The little sunshine is just kind of your quick button that'll easily get you back to today. Use that all the time. I think you guys will find that you use it a lot too. Something else I wanted to show you. I'm going to close the calendar for a second. When you're on the main screen of AVImark, every patient has over here to the side, they have a schedule tab. That'll show you any upcoming reservations that they have and the dates and times of them. And also if they're currently checked in, that'll show you their status if they're checked in or not. So we've got this patient actually checked in right now, but we also have quite a few other appointment reservations for them as well. So this is really good if you have a customer call and say, hey, last time I was in, I booked an appointment for Jake, and I can't remember what date and time it was. I think it was on a Wednesday, but I can't remember. Instead of going to the calendar and like searching through and trying to find the date and time and customer, you just pop open the schedule tab and go, okay, it looks like it's on the 8th at 11 o'clock. So it's really quick and easy to grab that information.
Is there a quick and easy way to grab that same information for another one of their pets?
Yeah, you would just have to click on that patient's tab. So when you're on their account, you're on their account. So you'll have both of their patients or all 3 or 4 of their patients at the bottom. You would just click on the next patient's tab and then pull their schedule right there.
They don't have an appointment, right?
Yeah, this one doesn't have any appointments, just the one did.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Sarah, can you double click on the date? Will it take you to the calendar then?
It won't take you to the calendar. Like if I double click on this, a reservation, it actually opens up the reservation.
Okay.
So I could see it straight from here in the notes that were on it. But you could right click on it and go to calendar, and that would take you to that date and slot, on the calendar itself.
Great.
Now, something else that's going to be really important that I want you guys to know is when you check an appointment in from your appointment calendar, all that you guys have to do to kind of quote unquote check them out is invoice them. When you invoice the customer, AVImark knows that they're leaving and going home, and that will automatically check them out. So that outpatient checked-in status would automatically disappear because the customer's not checked in anymore. So, kind of typical process is the customer comes in, you check in their appointment. They're, in the back, the doctors and techs are putting everything into medical history, their exam, their vaccinations, their procedures, any, product they're going home with. Front desk staff invoices the customer when they're ready to pay and go home. And as soon as that process gets done, it takes care of the rest and automatically checks them out. So nothing extra or special you guys have to do for a checkout other than what you're going to be doing already, which is invoicing the customer.
Are you going to address, like, if somebody prepays? Like, if they're coming in and they're paying for the spay and their daughter's going to be picking up later in the afternoon or whatever? Because we don't want
Yeah, when you guys did your invoicing class, did we talk about how you do a deposit on an account? By just going to the accounting window and then just doing a right-click new and putting in the payment that they're depositing?
Okay.
Yes, we went through that.
Okay, that's all you would have to do. And then once you put in their medical history, it would deduct that off their total.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Trying to think of anything else with the appointment calendar go over. Let me think for just a second. We've done, you guys don't have to worry about block offs. You know how to print it off, how to gather information, creating the appointment, notes. Something to just so you guys will know because you'll see it on there. There will always be a not assigned column. That does not go away. Really the purpose of it is a catch-all. So if somebody were to accidentally figure out in the system how to delete a doctor, all of that doctor's appointments would get pushed over to the not assigned column for the right dates and times and customer. That way we could fix the problem and we don't lose any appointments. So that's kind of the whole purpose of it. So we can't rename it. We can't get rid of it. You'll always see it over there on the side. But you guys can also book appointments over here if you need to. I've seen some clinics use that, like when they have walk-ins. They'll put the walk-in appointments over here in order and then grab them as they can. But if you guys want to use it for something like that, you can, or you can just ignore it and not use it at all. Strictly up to you guys. All right. Let's, I know we've got like 5 minutes left that we can kind of run through, but let's do kind of a briefing on the boarding calendar, and we can always finish up on it later on if we have to. Your boarding calendar is going to work kind of very similar to your appointment calendar. So the boarding calendar itself is the little picture. I think it's supposed to look like a little doghouse, but that's going to be your boarding calendar button. Now, I do not know, this looks like this was how it was converted over as far as, it looks like you guys probably have 11 cages, is that right? Cages or runs?
No, we've got many, many more.
Okay, so we need to talk sometime, we probably need to talk sometime like at a separate conversation and get this part set up so that it's got your actual runs and cages, etc., listed down through the side.
Yep.
Or we can talk to conversion about it and see if it's going to all convert over. But once it's all set, I know it's kind of a small version of it right now, but once it's all set, over here to the side, you're going to see, like this would say runs, and then it would have a number of runs that you have available, or names if you guys name them. And then you'd see another section for cages, and then you'd have all those numbers of the different cages that you have. And then you'll have your times, or your days, if you will, at the very top. And again, it works the same as the appointment calendar with whatever customer you have open on your screen. That's who it's going to assume that you're booking a boarding reservation for. So then again, you're just lining up what cage or run that you're putting them in with the date that they're arriving. So I'm going to scroll over to where we've got some major openings here. There we go. So we're going to say February 1st in this first run, I'm going to call it. I'm going to put in this patient. So I'm just locating February 1st. I'm putting it in run 1. If I was putting it in run 4, I would come down here. Again, these will be named better once we get it set up. And then you're going to do a right click, new. Oh, that's fine. We'll get it all set up. Now, every time that you book a boarding reservation, it's going to ask you if you want to also book an appointment. This is so that you can have an actual appointment on your appointment calendar for that patient before their boarding reservation. So if you guys do that, you can click yes. It just pops open the appointment calendar so you can put on that appointment real quick. If you say no, it just doesn't do that part. All right, but here's your reservation window. I'm just going to pull it up a little bit. All it wants you to do is specify the in and out day. It should already be defaulted to the 1st because that's where we were physically clicked at. And then I'm going to expand this out and say they're going to be staying a week. So they're coming back on the 8th. You do have to click apply inside of this window. and that will stretch it out and make it for that time frame that you made the adjustment for. All right. Now, as far as checking in the boarding reservation, again, just like your appointment calendar, once they arrive, you're going to right-click on it, and you're going to go to check-in. Once we get things set up more, we can talk about these others, but for right now, you just say check-in to boarding. That would mark them as check-in status for their boarding reservation. Now, with your boarding calendar, it does work just slightly different for your checkouts, okay? Because when a patient comes in for boarding, I'm going to close out of all this. When a patient comes in for boarding, AVImark needs to know exactly how many days that they were actually there so that it can charge appropriately. So you do actually have to manually check out a boarding reservation so that AVImark knows the exact date that they were checked out so it can calculate how many days they were there. Super easy. You can do it one of two ways. You could pop back open the boarding reservation, find that boarding reservation, right-click on it, and then your only option should be to check them out because they're already checked in. Or probably easier if you're already on their file. So I've got this account open. When you look at the schedule tab, you'll be able to see that they're checked in. Actually, you know what? I think they moved it. Nope, it's still in here. Good. There's a checkout straight from here, too. So you can just right-click, check them out from here, and it would do the exact same thing. Okay, so again, all you're doing to create the reservation, locating the date and the run, cage, etc. that you're putting them in, right-click New, specify how long they're going to be there. When they get there, you're doing your right-click check-in to check them in, and then whenever they're ready to leave, you do have to right-click and check them out. And then we'll have it all set so it auto-calculates charges and all of that on the back end. I know that was kind of a quick briefing of it, but I know we're about to run out of time. So do you guys have any, sorry, go ahead.
So how would you denote whether or not they're supposed to get a bath at the end of their boarding? Is there a way to easily do that on the boarding calendar?
There's not. You can't pre-schedule procedures on the appointment or on the boarding calendar. So what you would do, that's kind of where the whiteboard comes into play. We would use the whiteboard to schedule what we call activities, and you would have that list of activities on your whiteboard that you could, keep track of and have organized, and that's kind of our way of handling all of that.
I think you can, yeah.
Whiteboard includes surgeries and
it can, but you can. I think you can sort the whiteboard.
Yeah, there's a lot that we can do in that whiteboard. We can sort it, we can organize it different ways. So once we get to that point, like I said, we'll find out what all you guys need on your whiteboard and how you need it to look and how you need it to work, and I'll help you customize it to look and work that way.
Okay, hang on a second, Sarah.
When she said that, when you're scheduling the order, their date, did she not say that there was an option?
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
Because we have a connector where we have appointments and so that the doctor's tabs so would that not be an option?
Yes, that's what I was thinking. The same thing like you would do. You would schedule an appointment for grooming if they were going to get groomed before they left.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can definitely look at that. That's a good point. Okay, Sarah.
All right. All right, you guys, I know we're about out of time. Do you guys have any kind of last-minute questions over what we just covered?
No.
I think we're good.
All right. Well, we will. When's our next session, Andy? Let me triple check our calendar. Always like to verify it before we hang up. Is it tomorrow?
No, I think it's next week, isn't it? Oh, we have one for tomorrow.
yeah.
Yeah, and what we'll do is, do you want to do the same thing with the second group tomorrow?
Who do we have that will be in it tomorrow?
The other half.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.